Good afternoon and welcome to the Living Well program. You can find us here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on KATB 89.3 in Anchorage as well as KJLP 88.9 in Palmer. You can also find us online at katb.org. Also be sure to follow us on our Facebook page at Living Well Radio, and you can also find us on iTunes now. Just download the Living Well podcast. My name is Cammie, joined by Betty. You always got to say hi to everybody, Betty.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. It's hot in here today.
Yes. Might not be hot outside, but it is definitely got the heat going on in the studio today, don't we?
Yes.
So we're making up the difference.
That's right. It's very warm.
So we hadn't planned on this, but this is super cool. We've got part 2 of our Father's Day interview happening today with Dustin. Say hi to everybody, Dustin.
How's it going?
It's been kind of
Who
nice
knew dads
having
could
men.
fill up a
Yeah.
whole show? We thought it'd have to be like 2 15-minute segments. No
Nope.
problem filling 30 minutes.
Nope. They've just talked and talked, and I love it.
Yes.
And they even suggested we need to do this more often, so we might need to think about that.
We made, yep, that would be great. Any suggestions would be welcomed. So
Yes.
anyhow, thank you for taking time out of your day and joining us today. We're, again, just talking about all things fatherhood and just wanting to kind of find out a little bit more about you and your point of view on things. So thanks again for joining us.
Not a problem.
To get things started, Dustin, we just want to hear a little bit about your kids. Tell us about, their different age brackets and boys, girls. Give us the 411.
All right, I have 3 girls. I have a 12-year-old, a 6-year-old, almost 7, and then I guess an almost 2-year-old.
You have quite the spread.
Yeah.
Yes, we did that on purpose. One of the decisions that we made was we wanted to make sure our oldest was able to take care of herself a little bit more before we added another one in. And so it worked out well, so we did it again.
Yeah.
And now she's almost a teenager.
Yes, she is. She actually just had her birthday Friday, so.
It's official.
Yes.
There's something about that, going from 11 to 12, and then it's 13.
Yes.
You know, you're no longer a little girl. You're a tween.
Yep,
You're
that's
almost
a big
teenager.
deal.
You're in double digits the rest of your life.
Yes.
And how's Dad handling that?
I think I'm doing pretty well.
For the first week, anyway.
Yeah.
For the first 3 days.
Yeah.
Oh, 3 days.
She's a sweet child, so it makes it really easy. And she makes it really easy. She really does.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. The first one, go easy on you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because then you've got the middle child and the baby.
Yes. Which
They have different personalities.
they do. They are night and day, and it's lovely either way. Like, they're very fun, each individual. They're very enjoyable.
What's it been like to raise all girls?
Exciting. I don't know. I don't know any differently other than, I have nephews and I have boy cousins, but I don't think I would have it any other way. I think God, he definitely gave me a heart that was more compassionate towards girls. And so, I don't know, it's fun. I enjoy it. People think that, like, you have to treat a girl differently than you do a boy, but you really don't. You love them, and you play with them, and you have fun with them, and there's no difference between the two, really, when it comes to taking them to the park or wrestling with them or playing sports with them. It's all the same.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I said I wouldn't have it any other way.
Mm-hmm.
What's
Go ahead, Betty.
what's one of the favorite things you love to do with your girls?
I love playing with them, whether it's going to the park and, the different games that we play at the park or wrestling. Each one of my girls kind of like doing something differently. My oldest, she loves going to the park and having fun. So does my middle child. But my middle child is more hands-on. She loves to wrestle. She loves to be as close as she can to me. there's days where I get home and I sit on the couch and she's climbing on my shoulders because she can't get close enough. So it's that's just how it is. And it's fun.
Dustin, when you were growing up, was your father in your life? Did you have a dad that you could go to or that raised you?
Yes. My dad he was there, even though, he did have jobs where he, left for periods of time where, we lived in California, and he worked up here in Alaska. So it was like the two weeks on, 2 weeks off. So there was times where I didn't get to see him as much, but no, he was there. He was very supportive. He didn't show love, I guess, in a way to where you would, normally see it, but I never questioned that he loved me. He took care of us, and when he had the opportunity or the time to, he would spend time with us. He was into soccer, I was into soccer, and so we got a lot of quality time going on road trips for soccer tournaments, and going out and playing soccer with me when, he was in town and available to do it. So, and he was a good role model in the aspect of where I got my work ethic and, I guess dedication to whether it's my work or my family, all that.
What would you say has brought you the greatest joy in being a father?
I would say watching them grow into, the individuals that they're growing into, and knowing that I've at least had a little bit of influence in how they're shaping their lives. I won't say like I have impacted them a lot, or maybe I haven't, I don't know, but just seeing their personalities and who they are, and the choices that they make, and how they hold themselves. It just, I don't know, it's really joyful to see that, from the baby that they were to, every step and every, moment that something new or something exciting, whether it was riding a bike or taking the first step or, the first words, it's just seeing that, I'd say is pretty joyful.
Yeah. Yes, I'll go ahead, Betty.
Do you think your girls, are they mostly alike or mostly different?
Oh, they're all different, and in every way, shape, or form. Of course, our baby, she's just now, starting to see, her personality come in. But even with the personality that she's starting to have now is completely different from, our middle child to our oldest. They're each very unique, but in a fun way.
How would you describe your girls, each one individually?
Maya, my oldest, is very kind. She's very sweethearted, very loving, and she's funny in a quirky way. And then middle child, she's one of a kind. She's really hard to describe, but
she's hilarious.
She is funny. I think she has my personality when it comes to trying to scare you, and just the jokes that she tries to play on you. And she's a little rough around the edges. She's not as sweet as my oldest, but she is sweet, and
she has her moments.
Yes, in her way.
Yeah, exactly.
I think your baby, she's in love with my grandson, so I watch the two of them sometimes interact, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah, like I said,
she likes to be a leader and take charge.
She does.
Does she?
she is
at 18 months.
Yeah, she's very strong-willed, and sometimes I feel like she tries to control when she shouldn't even know
what that is.
And it's really interesting and funny to see that when she's interacting with certain
She is funny.
Certain babies.
Who's the disciplinarian in your family? You or your wife?
It depends. We definitely take turns. They seem to take me more serious than they do Rosalind, in the sense of sometimes I don't know if they don't think that she's being serious, but they're more afraid of the spankings that I give opposed to the spankings that she gives. You know, and I don't, and half the time if I just raise my voice, they definitely.
It's something about that male
there is
personality.
Yeah.
You know, the children. I found that true in my family.
We need to invent a device that can like pre-record those things.
and just push the button play.
Yep.
For Dad to say, "Stop it! Come here."
That would be awesome.
Wouldn't it?
It would.
That could be a great tool. I shouldn't have said that publicly. We got to think how we could
We
create
have to
that.
work on that now.
Yeah. Yeah. How would you say, Dustin, raising kids is different today versus when you were a child?
You know, I don't know if it's social media that I guess brings light to certain situations or certain things, but I remember when I was a kid, you know, my mom would pretty much kick us out and lock the door and tell us to come back. And we went out and played, and you know, when the sun went down, we knew we had to be home.
Yep.
You know, and I don't know if it honestly was safer then than it is now, but I definitely wouldn't do that with my kids now. Like I don't feel comfortable with it. But we are giving them a little bit more freedom, you know, now that, you know, they are getting older. But yeah, I don't know, it's different. You know, I don't know why. I can honestly, you know, say that I'm not sure, but the things I did are definitely not going to happen now with, you know, the way things are now.
You mentioned social media. So being the father of the house, have you thought about, as you are starting to step into those teen years, how you're going to navigate that and what kind of rules and boundaries you guys are going to establish regarding that?
Well, you know, the funny thing is so many of our friends and so many of my daughter's friends now, you know, they have cell phones, and I didn't have a phone until I was 21, you know, so to me, there's no reason for them to get it either, to be honest with you, because if they're not with us, you know, they're either with a family member or a friend that has a phone. So, you know, really it's not necessary for them to go outside and have a phone to call me. You know, I remember when we were kids, you know, we had to check in, and we came back to the house and checked in, and then we went back outside. You know, we didn't need a phone to do that. But the easily accessible internet now is definitely it's a scary thing. And, you know, some of the things that I'm hearing now about, you know, how easy it is to do this, or, you know, how easy it is to do that. It definitely makes it an easier decision to say, you know, no, you're not old enough, and I don't really care if friends have them, because you're not your friends. And when we come to a decision when, you know, they get old enough to where they're driving or something, then we can bring up the conversation of whether, you know, whether it's a phone or an iPad with unlimited internet, whatever it may be. You know?
No, it never bothered me for my kids to say everybody else is. Okay, that never bothered me.
Yeah, because I remember using that excuse, and my mom was like, well, guess what? You're not everybody else. You know, and it may be a cliche thing to say, but really there's a lot to that saying. You know, it's like, you're not everybody else.
you're mine.
Yeah, and that's the decision, and that's how it is.
Yeah, and I think too, the younger you start them out with those things, it really just progresses. So you might think you give them a phone at 10, and okay, now they've got the phone, they're just going to have a phone till they're 18. That's just the starting point. So the longer you can hold off on the starting point, I think the better off we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Did you have a man in your life other than your father that just kind of spoke into your life and mentored you?
I would say it hasn't been until, recently, within, I think, with the last 5 years, when we started the whole Men of Honor thing, and Paul Brandon was the one that, was the leader, the one in charge when we did it. And not to say that I haven't had mentors or quality role models in my life, but that class was really what opened up my eyes with learning what it actually meant to be a father, and the parts where I was failing, the parts where that I needed to do better. I really didn't know what it meant to be a spiritual leader, because I didn't grow up in a church, family. My parents didn't know Jesus, and they, to this day, I don't think they do know him. So I didn't have that. So doing the Men of Honor class, it really opened my eyes to, what it meant to be those things. And, now I can say that, Paul, I can go to him, about anything, whether it's, financial, parenting, anything. And so I would say that he probably made, I guess, the biggest or the most impact, in my life, to where it was helpful in a multitude of ways.
There's so many things I want to ask you about what you just said, but so what did you learn? What is a spiritual leader? How do you incorporate that in your home?
Well, one, it's I would say making the decisions. You don't. As a married couple, you come together and you make, decisions together. But ultimately, the male is the head of the household, and your job is to take care of your wife. Your job is to take care of your kids, and not just, financially, but, physically, emotionally, you have to be there for them. And I didn't really understand that until, I actually dug in and started, reading the verses in the Bible and actually understanding what that actually meant. You really don't know, like, how much you're failing as a parent or as a husband or a friend, whatever it may be, until, the Holy Spirit convicts you and makes you realize, like, how bad you're actually doing, at those aspects. I really didn't know what it meant to be a spiritual leader. Like, I had no clue, but then that class, it really did. It really opened my eyes to the concept of, you are the head of the household, and, you have to step up and make those decisions, and, to be, who God, called us to be, and it was a huge eye-opener.
So as the spiritual leader, do you take it as your responsibility to have your family in church?
Oh, yes.
And to talk to them about what God says. And is that what you're referring to? Is I know there's more to it, but
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say it's ultimately my responsibility. You know, as a husband and wife, you know, it's both of our jobs to raise our kids up. But you know, definitely, I feel like if I'm failing at, you know, whether it's taking the kids or, you know, telling them that, you know, we have to go to church or we don't have to go to church, like ultimately, you know, that falls on me, you know, because I have to be the one that, I wouldn't say controls that, but it's one of those things where I'm disobeying God if I'm not the one that is ultimately making that decision.
So you would say that having a mentor in your life has been invaluable?
Yes.
Would you recommend it to other young men?
Oh, I totally would. It's much more than just someone you're talking to. You know, they become a best friend. You know, they become, you know, more than, you know, a father figure. It's really hard to explain. You know, the relationship that you make, it's invaluable, and it's one of those things where if you don't have it, you're missing out.
As a husband and as a father, I know as a mom, as a wife, there would be times in my life that I would just feel like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I am so tired. And then there would be things that I would do to kind of rejuvenate me. And what, as a father, as a husband, what do you do when you're feeling low and you're tired and there's not enough money to make the bills and I don't know, whatever else could happen? What do you do?
I enjoy being with my family. You know, I enjoy hanging out with my kids and being with my wife, and being able to see the smile on the girls' faces or the giggles just from like tickling them or wanting them to snuggle with you to the point where they can't get any closer, that rejuvenates me. There's never really a time that I don't want to spend time with Rosalind or with my girls. You know, it's something that I really enjoy doing, and I can be dog tired, you know, hard day of work, and coming home and, you know, hearing the baby yelling daddy, or, you know, seeing a head pop up from the top of the stairs, you know, screaming, you know, that I'm home, and, you know, I can't get up the stairs quick enough because one of them is jumping from the top of the stairs. That, I don't know, just that rejuvenates me. You know, seeing the joy that they have and the love that they have, it just feels good.
Well, I know without a doubt that you're the most important man in their life and that they adore you. And I can understand how you enjoy being around Rosalind. She's hilarious.
She is.
Just hilarious. And your family's just delightful.
Well, thank you.
Just delightful.
Yeah. If you could take your kids anywhere, Dustin, for like daddy date of all time, and it was your choice of where to take them, where would that be?
Disneyland.
Yeah?
Oh,
They
yeah.
enjoy that, huh?
Yeah.
Or have they not been there yet?
They have.
Okay.
And I enjoy it. You know, it's one of those things where just seeing the smiles on their faces, like when we went, it was fun. You know, I enjoyed doing the stuff that they did, you know, whether it was the rides or meeting the characters. Like, it was a blast. I was in line with them, like meeting Princess Jasmine and Ariel, because seeing their faces over a signature, because I remember doing that when I was 10, and it seems silly, but it was a blast then, and it was a blast now. Like, it just was so much fun. The excitement, the unknown, the surprises, like, it was a blast.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's hard to go there and not have a great time.
That's right.
No matter how old you get, I think.
No matter how old you get. It's always a lot of fun.
I'm ready to go back again.
Me too.
Yeah. Go ahead. I want to ask you, just before we kind of close up this time together, I want to ask you, Dustin, what would you say God has taught you about himself as a father through you being a father?
I would have to say it's amazing, and we really can't understand or comprehend the love that he has, for us. It's the patience, and no matter how many times we mess up and we fail daily, he's already forgiven us. And to know, like, no matter how bad or how far away we may think we are from him, he never left us. And so with that, I hope my girls can see that in the father that I am, knowing that no matter how bad they mess up, or, how distant they think that our relationship may be, that it's not, that, I will be right there, just like God is right there. Like, he's never walked away. He's always been there, and he never will. And it's hard to understand that, but it's definitely, an amazing feeling to know that, he will never leave our side.
Wow. That's such an encouraging way to end our show. Appreciate you sharing your heart in that regard. And God really does reveal himself to us as we parent, and more about his love for us and how we can receive that and implement it into our own lives.
Yeah.
So anything else you want to ask, Betty, before we close out?
No, I just want to tell him thank you
You're
for coming
welcome.
on and sharing with us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah,
it was
been
fun.
our pleasure. Good. I'm glad
fun.
it was fun. Not too stressful.
Not at all.
Thank you so much, Dustin, and happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
And that's another Living Well program, and you can always find us here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on KATB 89.3 in Anchorage, as well as KJLP 88.9 in Palmer, and you can find us online at katb.org, as well as our Facebook page at Living Well Radio, as well as find our podcast available on iTunes. Just search for Living Well, and we'll see you next Wednesday.